Good luck to both of you. Touch gloves.
This is another match between a speed fighter, Lewis, and a puncher, Page. We saw what happened the last time between Mayweather and Corrales.
You know, going in this fight, though, it's interesting that Lewis also is a good puncher himself, and he punches with both hands, where primarily Page is mainly dangerous with his left hook. So it's going to be much easier for Lewis to prepare for the counter his left hook than it's going to be for Page to look out for Lewis, because Lewis punches good with both hands and from a southpaw stance.
The cautionary note there is that Page's left hook is no ordinary left hook. It's a pretty doggone good left hook. So he could change the fight by landing one of them, depending on how well Lewis takes the punch.
But it looks like he's too slow. The speed is going to be a bigger factor.
Yeah, he's already landed 2 solid left hooks as Lewis from his south.
Page is too slow, and this fight's going to be over quickly.
So you like Andrew Sixheads Lewis to go through him with his speed, huh, Manny?
Speed is a big factor. It's too slow.
And James Page is rusty, not having been in the ring in nearly 2 years.
Well,
Sixheads getting off to a very fast start in round 1.
Yeah, the speed he's showing is with his hands rather than with his quickness as a boxer. He's just beating Page to death.
And even the thing about it, when Page misses a punch, I look at the balance, and that lets you know that something is wrong. If he misses the punch, he loses his balance almost completely.
Page landed a left hand. Lewis squares up his shoulders, goes into a conventional stance. He starts out as a southpaw, but at any opportunity, Lewis will square his shoulders, switch his feet, and just wail away. So you've got 2 aggressive fighters, but it's been Lewis's aggression which has been the big factor in round number 1. Landing his left cross. And Page seemingly slightly wobbled by the left cross, but still looking to counter with his own left. Lewis throws him into the ropes and almost threw them.
Lewis is putting a lot of pressure on Page, and I don't think Page likes to fight at the tempo. He normally is a slow, methodical fighter who punches very well, but like most good punchers, he has to get set. And when you make a puncher have to fight faster than he normally likes to, you take away a lot of his punching power.
We're always talking about how a conventional fighter should throw his straight right hand against a southpaw. By the same token, a southpaw can fire a straight left hand up the pipe against a conventional fighter.
That's true.
And that's what Lewis is doing to Page.
He just landed a very good left hand punch that hurt Lewis temporarily there.
Yeah, just remember, Page fought a very gutsy fight against Jose Luis Lopez. He was knocked down twice and still won the fight.
But I think the fact that Lopez was a much slower starter comparatively, and this guy right here starting at such a faster tempo.
James Page working with the 4th trainer of his career coming into the fight, Yoel Judah. It is said in the sport that Judah didn't have much chance to work with Page, and Page looking increasingly ring rusty as Lewis bats him around through most of round number 1. Big round for Andrew Sixheads Lewis of Guyana.
I scored that a 10-8 round, Jim.
You see what happened? Breathe. And keep breathing.
Saw that?
All right, 6. You gotta stick to our game plan. Game plan is speed, okay? Yeah. Okay, breathe, baby. Okay, breathe. Come on.
Relax, just a minute.
All you gotta do with this kid, listen, let your jabs go, then let straight right hands and hook. Double up on your hooks on this kid. He's right in front of you. You understand me? And move, Pay. Keep your hand. I told you keep him up in front of your face, right? Breathe. We need a time. Take this. Come here. Look, I want you to use your
Lewis spent a lot of himself in that round and put a lot of damage on Page. Can Lewis keep up that pace? How much more can Page take?
I think it's the case also the fact that he's set a good pace, but he's landed most of his blows. So if he's landing blows, he's going to be doing just as much damage to the other guy. If he was throwing a lot of blows and Page was blocking the punches or making a miss, would be a different factor.
Harold Letterman with the more conventional scoring 10-9 in the first round, not buying into Larry Merchant's 10-8 campaign. A CompuBox wipeout. Lewis landing 42 out of 101 to 15 out of 56 to Page. Lewis landing more than half his power shots. Big right hand by Page. Lewis comes back with a 1-2 and a right hand of his own. There's that straight left hand again, right up the gut by Andrew Lewis.
It's just a much faster pace than Page wants to fight at.
And he's now turned to a conventional style, and he does it in a very smooth way.
Yeah, that's what happens often when you get a puncher. When he likes to get set, and all of a sudden he has to start fighting at a faster pace and a tempo. It's totally unorganized. And suddenly he's not a puncher that much then. He's a normal fighter.
Emmanuel, when a guy has such a natural punching power as Page, does he tend to ignore too much of the other game?
I think that's a big fact. In particular, his basic boxing doesn't utilize the other talents as much as he should, because he's physically a big man. And his jab should be one of his biggest weapons instead of just a left hook.
Page trying to get his jab going here in the second round. You heard Yoel Judah asking James to use the jab. Interesting, of course, because Judah's son, Zab Judah, is one of the most distinctive southpaws in the sport. And you don't often hear trainers asking their fighters to try to set up with the jab against a southpaw. It often gets blocked.
That's correct.
Also, Page hired Judah to train him because he works in the same gym that Six Heads does in Brooklyn, and he felt that he would be able to help him.
And that's very interesting.
Big uppercut, and then Lewis pushes Page onto the seat of his pants. It's a knockdown, and Kenny Bayless picks up the count at 6.
Okay. Come to me.
I think the knockdown was a good punch, but a lot of it is also just the basic balance of his feet is just not as good and accurate as that of Lewis. Lewis seems to be much more balanced.
Mouthpiece replacement here. Buys a little extra time for Page. Now with the mouthpiece back in, Lewis steps back. Another hard left hand and a big right by Lewis. Page trying to counter, but a half step slow. Lewis going to the body. Page swinging wildly and missing. Lewis picking his shots and landing. Huge round for Lewis. And if the first one was a 10-8, this one certainly is.
But in between all of the big punches, Page still lands a big shot every once in a while that keeps him in the fight, and he's still dangerous.
But an early scorecards for sure for James Page as Andrew Lewis dominates the first 2 rounds.
Give me the water bottle. Give me the water bottle. Hey, water bottle. Water bottle.
You okay?
You can't what?
All right.
Page, you gotta let your hands go. Understand me? Let your hands go, Page. You're sitting in front of you. Look, right here, hook, right here. Look for your Page. Uppercut is right there. The uppercut. Okay? Listen, the uppercut is sitting right
your jab. So we're going back to basics. Good jab and put it on it. And get the fuck out.
All right. Breathe, son.
Everything off the jab. Okay?
All right. Who's got this?
There's the uppercut.
Off of these first 2 rounds, Jim, I'd have to say that if he can sustain this, Andrew Lewis has the kind of strength and will and even skill and punch that might give Shane Mosley more trouble than any other welterweight I can think of right now.
You know, and I think the instructions that Page was getting was good. He's having a problem dealing with Lewis's speed, and he's never going to be able to deal with it. So he needs to just start throwing more punches and hope that he can land something, because at the rate it's going, he's getting beat anyway. And he cannot try to time and anticipate the punches of Lewis because he's too fast and too crafty.
Punch that set up the knockdown was a right-hand uppercut. Lewis landed another one of them just a moment ago, not with quite as much mustard on it. There's a right hand across the top and another right uppercut. And another right uppercut. Page is leaning into that punch and giving Lewis an easy target for it. Lewis picking Page apart from the outside, and Page one punch at a time.
will say this much to Page. He is very determined. He's not giving up. A lot of lesser fighters with heart would have given up in this fight.
Well, all that ring rust, 19 months out of the ring, Shirley Page feels as though he can work his way back into the fight if he can hang on.
Well, he's getting hit with punches. That's not going to help him a lot. If he was blocking a lot of punches, it's different.
Lands a left hook on the neck of Six Heads Lewis.
He needs to keep doing what he's doing. He's got to keep throwing a lot of punches.
Six Heads' attack slowing here in the third round.
The basic balance and position of Lewis is just so tremendous as compared to that, and the balance and the position of Page. That alone makes the fight almost a mismatch. Lewis is in a position at all times to punch effectively and to block punches.
Perfect example of that right there.
Page coming back with those big punches again, which
lands two left hooks. When Lewis squares his shoulders up and straightens his feet, he gives Page a chance to make his left hook effective.
That's right, and Page still is punching with full power. There it is again.
Yep.
There it is again.
Because Lewis leads with the right hook instead of with the jab. And when he leads with the right hook, he turns his shoulder and gives Page chances to counter with the left hook. Lewis needs to use his jab instead of leading with the hook all the time.
And he's so intent on trying to finish Page that he's not even looking for punches back himself now.
Now Page gets a chance to try an uppercut. Lewis with another right hand uppercut of his own and missed. Goes to Page's belly twice with the left hand.
This fight definitely will not go to 12 rounds.
Doesn't look that way. It's an all-out war so far.
When a fighter can punch as well as Page can,
How many elbows?
Powerful language, and of course it's Yoel Judah who's being very forceful in trying to get James Page back on the right page to stay in the fight.
I think Yoel is giving him good instructions too, because he cannot handle the speed of Lewis, so he can just forget that.
Let's go to Harold Letterman for a look at how he scored the first 3 rounds. Harold?
Okay, Jim. 3-0, 30-26. Obviously, Andrew Six Heads Lewis. Jim, my criteria for a 10-8 round without a knockdown is if the other guy's punching back, I'll still go 10-9. And that's the reason I went 10-9 in the first round. James Page was throwing punches back. But I got to tell you something, Jim. I'm a little bit against this, I don't know if you guys noticed, this thing with the mouthpiece. I mean, Lewis scores a knockdown. Page is obviously hurt. Lewis wants to take advantage, and the referee calls time. By the time Andrew Lewis got to James Page, James was totally recovered.
What was he going to do, Harold? The mouthpiece was out. The mouthpiece had to be replaced.
But the idea is, should you take away a man's advantage?
Well, there was a stoppage in the fight because of the count. I mean, I'm not sure. Is Bayless just supposed to ignore the possibility to put the mouthpiece back in because of the timing of that, Harold?
Well, I certainly wouldn't put it in when Lewis had a chance to win the fight.
So you would have made Page fight without the mouthpiece?
Well, in this situation, yes, because Lewis could have ended it.
All right. Meanwhile, round 4 action continues, and it's more of the same.
At this stage, Page seems to be totally content on just trying to land one big punch. He's not even really concerned too much with excessively trying to block punches or avoid them. He's looking just to land a power punch and get himself into the fight.
Probably thinking that his chances of winning a decision have already gone, if not down the drain, pretty far south.
That's correct.
And Lewis still out-throwing and out-landing Page as they reach the final minute of round number 4. Page waiting and looking, as Emmanuel says, for the one big shot.
Lewis is now fighting the fight that we anticipated him fighting. Outside, moving inside, throwing punches, staying out of range, doing what you just see him doing here.
But even though Page is being beaten this round, he's been hit with less power punches this round than any other previous round. He's been able to avoid most of Lewis's power shots at this point.
Now Lewis doing his scoring with the jab in this round.
Yes.
But when he throws the jab instead of leading with the right hook, he doesn't give Page the same chance to counter with the left hook, which is his best punch.
That's correct. The Page been throwing some pretty decent right hands tonight, too, which surprised me. There's a power left hook following the right hand.
Yep.
He shot the right hand more to get in position for the left hand that he shot back afterwards. And this round right here he's looked at Shaw, but he's did a lot better, I think, than in most of the previous rounds.
Yes, he's definitely doing better.
James Page's whole life has been that of a survivor. And so far, that's all he's doing here is surviving.